Oregon has added a speedster from the state of Texas at running back. Where have we heard that one before?
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
To a crossover Locked On Ducks and Locked On the Portal. I am your host, Brian Smith, with Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you for making each of our podcasts your first listen each and every day right here on the nation's #1 sports broadcasting network, Locked On. We are brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. Spencer, we're going to be talking about questions for you. I'm going to put you on the hot seat, sort of. Not that you don't know all the answers for Oregon. That's a little later in the show. Dante Moore, got to talk about him. We're going to talk about Ducks 2026, him coming back. Obviously a transfer that's probably the highest profile backup in college football by a mile. That is weird. We'll talk a little bit about that. The good, the bad, and the ugly with the transfer portal. Oregon was all over the map. Definitely going to talk about that, but we're going to start with CaDarius McMiller. He's out of Tyler, Texas. They've had Texas running backs before. Might have been a really fast guy from Texas. I can't remember who that was, but anyway, I know that's what
he hailed from Texarkana, if you want to be specific.
There you go. There you go. This kid is from Tyler. Do you know who's from Tyler? Give me a hint. He played at the University of Texas, and he goes by the Tyler Rose. He's famous, very famous. If you don't know this, we have to fire you. So that's
I guess I'm fired.
Earl Campbell. I mean, that's about it.
I was thinking way too recently. I was thinking way too recently.
It's all good. It's all good. CaDarius Miller's 6'1". We were joking before the show that the poor quarterback that he plays with is much shorter, and Miller's legitimately a tall guy. Like his legs are like a spider. Like he is so long, it's ridiculous. And I think he has great second level speed. I really like his ability to bounce off tacklers. He's got good contact balance, which is so important. And he's got good vision and good hips. He can move laterally. That's my take. I watched almost the entire film. I usually only need a couple of minutes. I just enjoyed it and just kept watching the film. That's a good thing. And he's playing East Texas kids. For those who don't know, Tyler is kind of the metroplex, if you will, of East Texas football. That's, again, I mean, they've had a lot of guys for a long time, but Earl Campbell is Earl Campbell. And to be honest with you, this guy might be the best running back in Texas in this next class. There's always a lot of guys, but he's in that mix, and it's a great, great group in Texas for this next year. What are your thoughts, Spencer? And is this going to be the only back that Oregon takes in the 27 class?
That depends on how they feel about the future of the room and how many guys they'll get to keep around. They took 2 running backs in the class of 2026. One was a very late addition, Brandon Smith. He was an Arizona commit. He's now committed to the Ducks. He and Tredarian Ball, who I know you like a lot. Everybody likes Tredarian Ball's film because he's just one of the most I think he's one of the most unique players in the last 2 or 3 recruiting cycles, quite frankly. The ability to have been both a high-end slot receiver and an elite running back recruit just doesn't come along very often. But, you know, with those 2 guys in the fold, and then Jordan Davison and De'Ara Hill, who were awesome this past year as true freshmen, and then you still have Dink Riggs in the fold as well, who might be RB3 going into this year. We'll see how he is coming off of the injury he suffered at the end of last season. And then they added Simeon Price from Colorado. He's going into his 6th and final year, so he's not a part of the future plans in the running back room. I just wonder, if you keep Dink Riggs around, do you try and find a Brandon Smith for next year? But if you do keep him around for the long haul, if you go into 2027 with those 5 running backs, you're good, I think. Now, Oregon and running back depth, oh boy, we know how quickly it can evaporate in postseason settings. But I think that what Oregon has is a tremendous lineup of depth, proven production. You'll have a lot of experience by the time McMillan gets into the fold for 2027. You could have no seniors in the running back room for next fall, not this coming year, but 2027. And I think you'd be totally fine with that. Now, it would raise the urgency to need to get running backs in the next class, because I don't think you can keep Davison out of the 2028 NFL draft. I don't think you're going to be able to get him back for a fourth year. He's too good. De'Aaron Hill, you could. I don't think he has the same NFL running back traits that Davison does, or the same desirability from the league. So I think that one's closer. But yeah, to just go back to your fundamental question, I think it's more than likely they would bring in a second running back for 2027, but maybe a developmental piece. Like, I think McMillan is going to be your crown jewel at the position for this class. I don't think there's going to be a higher rated guy, maybe even not a similarly rated guy. I think someone who you say, man, he's got this elite trait, but he's got some work to do, developmental piece, upside play. I think that's what Oregon's probably looking at with CaDarius McMiller in this running back room.
I think they need more of a Davison type, for lack of I'm not saying they're getting that level, but like a thicker frame. Because for those, again, if you haven't watched, just for your entertainment, CaDarius McMillan or McMiller, he's the real deal. Unfortunately, there just aren't many guys built like you could play him at corner, you could play him at safety, you could play him at receiver. Athletically, he'd figure it out. But having another guy that's 5'10", 205 that could punch you in the mouth might be the developmental piece that Spencer's talking about. Oregon.
One thing I want to jump in real quick. So when I watch his tape, Brian, I've said he moves a lot like Jordan Davison with the way that he's got a big frame. He's a little bit taller, but he's got a big frame, and just the way that he makes those kind of subtle, shifty moves throughout the secondary is where I see the similarities. But it sounds like from what you saw, he's not the type of bruising back that maybe his size indicates. And that's something that I noted on my film breakdown on my show yesterday, that, you know, I think when he gets to the college level, he's going to have to learn he can't always break a run east to west. He's going to have to learn to just be a one-cut guy sometimes. It obviously depends on the situation. But a lot of his highlights are he jump cuts this guy, he stiff arms that guy, and you look at it and go, okay, that's not a college football player that he's probably getting past there. Do you think he has the ability to become a more physically bruising back or an effective short yardage guy? Or do you think he is a bigger-bodied home run hitter?
I think it's a little bit of a cross between the two. It depends on how big Oregon wants to make him. Oregon's strength program is very, very good. Does he play at 210, 212 in a couple of years? Probably. Most guys add at least 10 pounds at running back minimum in college, and he may do that in the first 6 months he's in Eugene. Like, that's usually the biggest jump, because, no offense, high school training is not the same as college. It's just not. And their diet, like all the garbage that they eat at midnight and stuff, kids, yeah, that goes out the window. You have a schedule and they keep you to it, and there's more protein shakes and all that. So he might be 210 his freshman year at Oregon. Does he adjust to the weight? Does he realize, oh, this safety that weighs 190 is in a lot of trouble, I'm going to run him over? That's mental stuff, and that's how Oregon wants to coach it. I don't know the answer to that stuff, but he could do either. And like, if he makes the first guy miss in the second level, his home run speed, as you duly noted, makes him very unique. So I think he could be a little of both. Because like, I loved how he not just ground him into the turf, but he would drag guys. He's not like he's not Jerome Bettis by any means, but he's a guy that will bounce off tacklers, get extra yards. And the most important run in football is the 3-yard run, where you got to hit near the line, and it's not 2nd and 9, it's 2nd and 7. It's boring as all get out. But tell any coordinator that he's in 2nd and 9, you're going to hear some cuss words. Mm-hmm. They don't want to hear 2nd and 7. It's not ideal, but that 2-yard difference is massive for play calling. So that's the difference between the guys that get paid in the NFL. Kind of like Davison, there's no doubt he fits the National Football League by a mile. If he can get, I'm not saying he's going to be Davison, so like he's naturally just insanely strong. What do you have, 15 touchdowns last year or something? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was 17 was the number.
But he's a rare guy. He played at Montana.
Oh, you talking about Davison or McMillan?
Davison.
Davison had 15 touchdowns as a true freshman.
That's pretty impressive. Like, he was their goal line guy, but he earned other reps that he would run it in for past 10 yards too. played at Modern Day, like all that. He's a 3-and-out guy. There's zero chance, barring injury, he's going to come back. This kid may not play right away, but I bet his sophomore year, after he's gained a little weight and a little more training, he'll play. Like he'll find himself into the lineup, and that he may be one of the guys competing for his starting role. Oregon is never going to be in a spot now, I think, where seniors are a big deal. That's a great problem to have. That means you're putting guys in the NFL or they're transferring. There's only a handful of schools like that: Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Georgia, etc. The Ducks are definitely in it, and I don't think Dan or anybody in that recruiting office is concerned at all if, we got to get 2 running backs this year. Name a team that recruits more national than Oregon. There isn't. They have to because of their backyard being so barren. That's par for the course. So worst case scenario.
Plus they've got, as a running backs coach, Rashad Samples, who as a position coach is probably conservatively a top 10 position coach recruiter in the country. That's a conservative, I'm 100% certain that that's the case sort of guess. Top 5, there are a lot of it. But with Brian Hartline no longer in that group, he would have been one of the guys that I would have said was ahead of Samples. Yeah, Samples is probably that's a long list. We can't dive into that entire list right now.
Yeah, but that's actually a good show topic at some point. But I think Oregon's going to be just fine at running back, but they're pushing the pile forward when you bring in kids like this, especially getting him early. That is a blessing. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the portal additions for the Ducks. Did they get everything they need? What did they lose? And is Spencer happy with all of it? He is a Ducks guy. We will talk about that next right here on this crossover, Locked On the Portal and Locked On Ducks. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, whether it's the skills they have, certifications, location, experience. Maybe it is a combination of the above. Whatever you want, Indeed will match for you. And while they're doing that, you can actually do your job as a manager, as a hiring person, not just sorting through resumes, but going through the specific candidates that save you time and, guess what? Money. And here's the great part. In the minute or so I'm doing this, Indeed, on average, 27 hires around the world. That puts things in perspectives. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring. Do it the right way with Indeed. Thank you once again for making Locked On Ducks and Locked On the Portal a part of your day. And if you want to take it to the next level, check out the description down below for both of our shows. Locked On is got the Everydayer Club. The best thing, in my opinion, about it, $5 a month or $50 for the year. Your audio will have no ads. Take them on the go to the gym or anywhere else you go. Check out the link down below. Spencer, the transfer portal for the Ducks has been a mainstay topic for years because they always do well. This year they did well, but it's been a little bit different. Losing Tosh, I'm going to let you define it because I've still had a hard time putting this in. 7 D linemen going out the door is a massive number. I think it's 7, if I remember correctly. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the additions there? And then after that, just where do you think the portal class is? And obviously there's a quarterback we got to talk about too. It's a unique portal class for the Ducks. Wherever you want to start, brother.
Yeah, I'll start with the Tosh Lupoi angle of things. You know, I don't think I did a good enough job preparing Oregon fans for what was rather predictable in hindsight. The last time Tosh Lupoi left a college school, I guess I didn't double check Alabama, but you know, Tosh Lupoi's got a world-renowned resume as a recruiter. And one of the reasons that I was a little skeptical Cal would actually go ahead and hire him is that when he left Cal, there was recruiting fallout in a negative way for the Bears. And that's just kind of the way these things go sometimes. He is a fully committed, true recruiting sicko. And though only a couple guys actually followed him from Oregon down to Cal. I just have a sneaky suspicion. This is my gut, not a hard report or anything. I have a sneaky suspicion that he was in the ears of some of the guys who he's known for several years, who he helped recruit and develop at Oregon as the defensive coordinator, and told them, you can go somewhere else and start. And I'm sure some of them will, for sure. The guys I'm most interested to see are Terrence Green and Tioni Gray, because they went to Alabama and Notre Dame. And there are some other intriguing ones. Jericho Johnson went with him to Cal. Zadavian Sims went to Arkansas. Toby Hastrup went to West Virginia. I think Blake Purchase at Ole Miss is probably going to be one of the more underrated transfer portal additions for any team in the SEC. I think Blake Purchase was real solid. And then Ashton Porter went to Houston. But Tioni Gray and Terrence Green, to me, are the guys that were solid for Oregon this past year. They were in reserve roles, and they clearly left Oregon because they feel like they're going to start. If they don't start, it's going to make me wonder, what were they told? Were they told that by Tosh, or were they told that by the new staffs that they're going to? Because when all these guys announced they were going in the portal, when their same role was going to be available to them going into 2026, it made me think, well, I mean, 3 or 4 of them are probably going down to join the coach that they know. And then that didn't really happen, right? One defensive lineman. Then he brought Kingston Lopa at safety, who I think is a good player, and Cooper Perry, the wide receiver, as well. So when that didn't happen in that way, it kind of made me wonder about all of that. I think Oregon did a solid job going out and finding guys in the portal. I think DeAndre Robinson from North Carolina, who I talked about with Isaac Shade of Locked On Tar Heels, I think he's probably the best transfer defensive tackle they added. A guy that logged over 300 snaps at a Power 4 program last year, was at Florida before he was at North Carolina, blue chip recruit coming out of high school. I think he's a guy that has real upside to be a starting caliber player should there be an injury, or just looking ahead to 2027 on the defensive line. So I think Oregon did a good job, a good enough job. But to something you kind of hinted at there, Brian, this is not a traditional portal class under Dan Lanning. It's actually the lowest rated as he goes into as a year 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. He's going into year 5. This is the lowest rated transfer portal class that he has brought in. I think losing 2 new coordinators is what you can attribute that to. That there's just a lot of change, a lot of turnover, in addition to the returners that they have. All 4 defensive linemen, 2 starters on the O-line, and 2 key returners. Your quarterback, your 2 starting running backs after Noah Whittington left, all your receivers. You lose a tight end, you replace him with another one. I think their needs are just not as big as they have been in years past, and so they feel good about the roster that they have. But the defensive line, you said it was 7. I'm just going to do a quick tally real quick. Terrence Green is 1, Hastrup is 2, Purchase is 3, Johnson 4, Porter 5, Gray 6, Sims 7. And yeah, okay. So it was 7 defensive linemen. That's
a lot.
That's a lot. And it wasn't just guys that you projected as starters next year or the year after that. It was guys that were borderline starters this year. I mean, you clearly had your 2 starting tackles in Amari Washington and Bear Alexander, but
got to rotate, brother.
You got to rotate, So it's not a starting role. Like we need to come up with a term, because bench piece kind of feels
right.
No, it feels like it's underselling it, right? So heavy rotation guy, rotational starter, something like this. I got to think better and come up with harder and come up with a better term.
Here's the thing. A couple years ago when Georgia had those unbelievable fronts, they didn't have defensive linemen for the entire year that would hit like 450 in snaps. Oregon was in position to do that this next year. Like, you've got to have insane depth. And when you get to the playoff and your guys aren't beat up, well, that's kind of an advantage. That's my only concern about Oregon for this next season. We're going to talk about Dante here in a second, in the next segment. I have full faith in him. I knew him when he's high school. Like, he's a great kid. He's gotten so much better, all that. But when you play Ohio State Indiana, Notre Dame, Miami, Texas, whoever it is in the playoff, all those teams are going to have quarterbacks. And the worst thing you can do is allow teams to run. Oregon's front is so big, it's not fun to run against them. Having more guys helps you do that. That's my one concern. So I know DeAndre Robinson, he's an Orlando kid. That's a massive human being. Like, he was massive when he was a sophomore in high school. When you walked out on the field, you didn't need a roster. Okay. He was the biggest guy out. He was 320, like when he was 16. He was that guy. But they don't have the ability to replace like 4 D tackles or whatever it was. Well, like 3. So I'm curious because injuries for the first time in a while potentially could hurt the Ducks. But that's just, they're now just like everybody else, elite up front with their starters, not quite as much depth. Like their front 4, you could argue, is as good as any in college football next year. Certainly top 5, but the depth may not be there. On offense, though, what we're getting ready to talk about in the portal in general, like there's still a safety I want to talk about on the other side of the break. Koi Perich is awesome. And I remember that text I sent you. I said, he's my Big Ten defensive player of the year because of the front. He's going to get some freebies. And then when they get the ball back to Dante, that is an elite group. That is next here on this crossover, Locked on the Portal and Locked on Ducks. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda, moving the game forward. These situations are always so much fun in the offseason trying to figure out the rosters. Well, Mazda's moving the game forward is all about that. It's for those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. And I can guarantee you, and I know Spencer will agree with this, that Dante Moore is that guy. On the field, off the field, academically in high school, he was a 4.0 student. He's a great person, and he's the leader in the face of your program. He's the kind of guy that's probably going to get a lot of ads for a lot of good reasons, and he's just a heck of a passer. He is somebody that definitely moves the game forward for the Ducks. He's the kind of person that reminds us what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the field, dialing in every detail, giving that extra fire, that grit, and I will never quit. We put the same passion into every model, highlighting what makes the real, what it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. We are also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. If you've ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is for you because it is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win the NBA Finals trip for 2 people. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole shebang. That experience is up for the taking. If you're already looking at the board thinking about any kind of opportunity for a team making a deep run, go ahead and use that profit boost on that. You will be entered in the sweepstakes. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost for NBA future and get entered into the chance to win the NBA Finals trip. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Spencer, this is a very fun opportunity right here. Koi Perich. Most people didn't know anything about him.
Perich.
Okay.
Perich.
I probably mispronounced
it. Sneaky tough name, Brian. No shame.
Yeah, it's Perich, if I'm right.
Correct. So it's not parish like a church. It's like Perich.
Yeah, it's
like the fruit and then something you scratch.
Okay, that's fine. But I was gonna
I wasn't.
All right. The point is still the same. Like, he played at Minnesota. They're a decent program. They get no love. As a freshman, he was an All-American, which is bizarre. His stats weren't quite as good this past year. I think he played banged up. Just my opinion. But at the same time, he's a guy that I also think is not just good. Teams kind of went away from him this past year. He's physical. He gets picks. He's just that guy. I imagine he's going to get some freebies with that front. I mean, Tuioti and all the, like, holy cow, they've got Uyunglele up front. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what they do with him, especially how they use their safeties last year. He fits it. I want you to comment on him, then let's jump into Dante.
Yeah, I think Koi Perich is a no-brainer selection for the most impactful transfer Oregon brings in this cycle, because the positional need is very real when you lose a veteran like Thieneman, who's probably a 2nd or 3rd round NFL draft pick. And then you look at what Oregon has in the room. They've got a bunch of young talent that's not super experienced. And I wonder if this move would have still been made? The answer is probably, because Oregon has the ability to go after luxury additions that they want but don't necessarily need. I wonder if Trey McNutt had played last year, or at least not been hurt, if Oregon would still have felt they had as big of a need at safety, because he came in as a really highly recruited 5-star guy, and he just lost an entire season. Basically, he was suiting up for the playoff games. He obviously didn't play because he hadn't been able to play in a game or even practice for most of the year because he got injured going into the season. He broke his leg in fall camp. So, that really stung from a developmental standpoint. But, Oregon still having him there as one of the guys that's maybe a part of the rotation is a luxury place to be. And then having Koi Perich is just fantastic. I mean, the dude moves, the dude hits. I think that's the biggest difference between him and Dylan Thieneman. And frankly, overall, Brian, I think Thieneman's a better overall player. I think Perich is a better hitter. I think he's a better, I say hitter rather than tackler, because Dylan Thieneman didn't miss a lot of tackles. He just wasn't popping guys Cam Chancellor style. He'd get downhill, he'd go for the ankles, and he didn't miss. And that's great. And Thieneman was also really good in coverage. Obviously, the game-sealing interception against Penn State. I think Perich is a guy that has got a lot of those similar traits. He's going to look the same when he's out there on the field. They've got very similar builds. They've played the same position. And I think it's fair to wonder, can he be at Thieneman's level in any year, given the season that he just had, kind of adding to that thought? You have to remember a couple things. Number one, might not have been 100%, as you mentioned. Number two, tried to play receiver because Minnesota just
they're terrible.
Doesn't have as much talent out there. Oregon saw that when they came to Autzen and beat them, I think it was 49-10. Their quarterback's okay, but they're not rolling in big-time talent on the perimeter, and so they felt the need to put him there. That's kind of like for Oregon fans when Charles Nelson was playing both safety and, gadget guy. He was doing that because Oregon didn't have any safeties that were worthwhile. That's not necessarily a good thing, though he was a pretty good player back there. So I think that his ability to just focus on safety this year helps him. I think he's a true thumper, and Thieneman was so good in coverage that's really my only question with him. I know he's good. I just don't know, is he as good as Thieneman was? We'll see. But that unique safety alignment they rolled out last year after Ohio State burned them with it, I fully expect them to bring that package back consistently with Koi Perich playing that role.
I think he's better close to the line of scrimmage. But again, as I noted earlier, if you go by PFF grades and go look him up, his grades his freshman year were way better than his sophomore. Teams avoided him, and I don't think he was healthy. You can look at the numbers. It's obvious, and he just played through it. It's football. If he is healthy this year and you put all those guys around him, no offense to Minnesota, the DBs in Eugene are on another level.
Yeah.
You can't avoid guys. And the pass rush and the schematics, that unit has played together long enough. They should be better at rushing the passer. They weren't unbelievable at it last year. They had a couple guys over there, but they weren't where I thought they were going to be.
They underachieved getting after the quarterback. Mateo Uiagalelei was a part of that. He was not the only reason for it. His sack numbers were not as high as they should have been.
And that's, again, coverage. Again, like they had a true freshman All-American guy, was borderline All-American in general out there. They got some other DBs. It is not going to be friendly to throw the ball in the Ducks. If their linebacker play, and that's always the hard thing. How good would they be in coverage at linebacker? If that's good, that front's going to get home more, and there's going to be some freebies. Perich and some other guys are going to just have easy pickings for some ducks, yes, pun intended, going up in the air. And that's how you get your totals. Oh, he had 7 interceptions. Well, 4 of them might just been completely overthrows and stupid passes thrown off your back foot. But that's okay. They still count. So that's why I think he's going to be very, very important. Lastly, Dante. I think that he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in college football in terms of managing the circumstance. Let me give you an example. A certain quarterback that bludgeoned the Ducks in the playoffs what do you have, like 18 passes or something like that against Oregon? It was just
I think
ridiculous.
it was 20. I think he was 17 of 20.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I think Oregon, with their insane running back room, Dante's right hand will be sore from handing it to Davison and those, because they won't have to throw it a ton. But when they do, you'll see more bombs than even before, because like their receiver group is gross. They just don't have to risk throwing it that much. O-line, we'll get to that in a second, but I don't think he'll make many errors. And this will probably make your Duck fans very happy. Prediction: they will throw fewer screens this year. I know that will make people happy. And I know that's been a discussion point on every Oregon board. It's been effective, but when you play elite defenses like Indiana ate it up, you got to mix it up a little more. I suspect that'll be better. And they got a senior quarterback. Am I wrong in anything there? What do you think?
Well, Dante Moore is actually a redshirt junior, not a senior. So,
well,
he's a fourth year, but he's not an official senior. So technically, he could be Oregon starter in 2027. That would be one of the biggest surprises of my entire life, but I'd be here for it anyway. So, I think that what Oregon fans have been frustrated with the offense is not that there's no downfield passing. It's just that there's not as much as there could be. And I think that that's a fair point to raise, because you watch these other teams that have elite receivers and they're just torching them down the field. Every single big play, Indiana was throwing a back shoulder fade. Everybody in the stadium knew it. It was just a matter of, were they going to throw it to Surratt, were they going to throw it to Cooper, or were they going to throw it to Becker? It was just figure out where the coverage is leaning and how you can create a one-on-one. That was the chess match that they played. But they knew they were going to that play, because if you have guys to do it, it's darn near unstoppable. Well, guess what? Decorian Moore and Jeremiah McClellan and Evan Stewart are that caliber of a receiving trio. I mean, once the game was way out of hand, Dante Moore cut it loose, and J-Mac was working on D'Angelo Pons, who's about to get drafted, and he hauled in a miraculous 50-yard catch, and it just makes you wonder, where in the hell was that to start the game? I mean, the first play of the game was, they were going for an icebreaker. It didn't work very well. But I just look at those moments to go, man, you got to take more of them. You got it. You cannot feel limited, and it's a new offensive coordinator. Same system, you would think, but Drew Mehringer will have a chance to put his stamp on what he wants to be as an OC, and he can gain favor with Oregon fans for whatever that's worth to him. And I'm not here to tell you Will Stein was a bad offensive coordinator. He wasn't. There were only about 50 different numbers that back that up. And yeah, his performance in some games was better than others. Welcome to the world of coaching. That's the way it goes. I just think that element that I mentioned is a fair point of criticism. Some of it is on Dante, though. I've brought this up a lot in the offseason. Sometimes Dante Moore doesn't cut it loose when he should, and that needs to change. So I think philosophically, you've got to have a stronger approach to taking those shots. And I'm not telling you to never call a screen pass, because sometimes, they do in fact work. It just shouldn't be as much of a driving force compared to the downfield shots when you have the talent in the wide receiver room. Or else, why are you going to get Decorian Moore? Why are you bringing in Jeremiah McClellan? Why are you bringing Evan Stewart back? You're bringing these guys in to unlock their potential. Go let them cook on the outside. So I think that's what Oregon fans really want to see.
Spencer, as always, truly appreciate it. Please tell everybody where they can find your work.
Locked On Ducks and Locked On College Football, which is our Watch Next. I always love doing these shows where the Watch Next on a show that I'm doing is, hey, if you didn't get enough of me, go watch me again on Locked On College Football on YouTube and, of course, wherever you get your podcasts. I enjoyed it as always, Brian.
Absolutely. You can find this podcast same place you find Spencer, Locked On Ducks, and Locked On the Portal across every kind of audio platform you think of: Podbean, Apple, Spotify, and of course on YouTube. This has been a crossover, Locked On Ducks and Locked On the Portal.